This is the busy village of Kenfig Hill in mid Glamorgan, situated just 5 miles from the M4 motorway. And like many places, its high street retailers are having a tough time.
Well, I'm right in the heart of Kenfig Hill Shopping Centre, so it's no surprises that the property I'm here to see is actually at commercial premises. It's this, most recently used as insurance brokers, at a guide price of 31,000 quid. Let's take a look.
You better get some insurance on me, baby. Take out some insurance on me, baby.
It certainly looks as if it has a lot of potential. However, any buyer would have to take into consideration the planning regulations, which might mean the shopfront is here to stay.
It's certainly got a nice big frontage, which is what you want if you were to be selling things. But actually the usage of this place is A2. That means professional and financial services. So something like solicitors or estate agent. Absolutely ideal for that. As I said, it was originally an insurance broker's. Inside here, well, a little bit shabby. Although I think you can have some fun ripping off the walls. It might be bigger space than it looks. But one main room here, tender loving care definitely required, but then through to the rear where you've got this little ante-room, and it continues. So already I'm seeing quite a substantial property here.
As well as the shop front and the ante-room, there's a rear kitchen and cloakroom on the ground floor. There's also access out the back. And there's more.
So, upstairs, and what have we got? Well, 3 fairly decent sized rooms, and it seems like they haven't really been utilised for anything specific. Maybe office space, storage, whatever. I mean, one thing I do notice is in there as I was walking up, and also in here, some signs of damp, and my guess is that's coming down from the roof. So definitely get the roof checked out. But while I'm up here, suddenly I'm thinking, is there another option for this building? Could you perhaps convert this into a self-contained flat? Now that is an interesting opportunity.
This is a big opportunity to shop around.
Opportunity indeed, because although a planning application was turned down to convert the whole building to a residential dwelling, it doesn't rule out the possibility of a mixed commercial residential option. I think there may be a chance that route could succeed, particularly when you see what's out the back.
So if you were thinking about doing something with that upstairs area, what would you want to do? Well, first of all, you want to create separate accesses, because at the moment it's actually through the shop. But the good news is, right down the side of the property there is this little alleyway, and it gets better because at the rear of the shop there is this fairly large bit of land, and at the bottom a separate access road, so you could bring off-street parking in through there, or at least give access that way as well. But while I'm out here as well, look at the size of this. Fantastic amount of space, and straight away I'm thinking, could you be a little bit more ambitious and maybe even think about putting an extension on? Maybe even another flat. What I like about this is there's lots of options.
The crucial factor when weighing up those options is the financial return. Although a new flat might be viable, I would guess the cost of building it wouldn't justify the likely return you'd get in this area. So I think a less expensive mixed residential and commercial conversion is likely to be the way to go. But there are still a number of options to consider here. What does the auctioneer who sold it think might be best?
Well, my first impressions of the building are purely from a commercial point of view, is the potential to subdivide, whether it be taking an access off the side and creating a new entrance at the back to create additional accommodation in the form of residential or office accommodation, which is probably there's less of a requirement for at the moment, and of course the most valuable use will be residential, but it depends what the planners have and how they feel about what the building could be used for.
Yes, clearly the planners will be key here, but if a mixed commercial residential option was possible, what sort of rental returns would we be looking at?
With the first floor to be converted to a one-bedroom flat, I would estimate a monthly rental income of £300 per calendar month. The business premises, I believe, would let for approximately £400 per calendar month.
In these tough times for business, the auctioneer advises that accepting a lower rent for a commercial property might be wise. After all, no one wants an empty property with its ongoing running costs. That's the business side of things. What about the floor above? Is there any resale value there?
I believe that the flat could not be sold separately purely because it would be very difficult to raise a mortgage against it. So I think it's purely as an investment as part of the whole freehold premises. So I think that we'd be looking at the value of the entire premises of between 55 and 60,000.
So a careful refurbishment and change of use might get a better deal, but nothing's guaranteed.
Well, starting any new business in this current economic climate is always going to be a bit risky, so I would definitely hedge my bets and convert that flat into either separate living accommodation or an office. But it's all down to whoever bought it. Let's find out who that was when it went to auction.
On to another popular lot we've had here, ladies and gentlemen. It's a freehold semi-detached commercial unit with full width display frontage. 30,000 to get things moving. 30, thank you, 30,000, 31, 31,002 and 32. 3, thank you, 33. 33,000 is bid. 33,004, 4, 5, 5, 6, 36, thank you, 37, 37,000. 36 on you, sir. Give me half. Half. 37, thank you, half. 8, half. 9, half. 40, 39 and a half. It's on you, sir. 39 and a half. 39 and a half. 40, half, 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 thank you, 40 and a half, 41, any advance on 40 and a half, because I'm going to sell it quickly, I've got 40 and a half, no, yours sir, 40 and a half, have you got a bidder's number?
For £40,500, the delighted new owner of the commercial premises in Kenfig Hill near Bridgend is Jay. He lives locally and runs his own IT and telecommunication company.
It's my own business. It's my own business.
Jay, good to meet you.
And yourself?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Tell me why you wanted to buy this place.
We were looking for an office for ourselves. We've currently rented an office for the last 5 years. So we were looking for a property to do up ourselves. We've never had a retail environment, so we just wanted to bring something extra to the company.
Oh, great. So tell me what you do.
We're a business communications company. So primarily we go out and see our customers, but we want to try and bring them to us as well.
And what does business communications do?
We do telephone systems for companies,
Right.
Broadband, data requirements.
Great. And why here?
It's not far from where I live. It's close to the M4 links, and it's just dead in the middle between where our customers are usually based.
Jay rents his current business space and will remain there until the work is completed. There are also plans for his wife, Heather, a web designer, to be based in the new office. So it seems this is potentially a perfect purchase.
So tell me what you're going to do to make it fit your requirements.
There's a lot of work we're doing on it. We're basically knocking all the walls down internally.
Oh, wow.
Apart from the load-bearing walls. Ideally, downstairs would be a bit of a sales and introduction with a meeting room downstairs and a stock room. Upstairs has been converted into 4 offices. And then the backyard, then we're going to be, hopefully, depending on planning, turning into a car park for our own staff use.
That'll be perfect for you, get the cars off the road and all that.
Yeah. Ideally, if I could have got planning, I would have changed it to a residential property completely. But it's been rejected in the past. So I knew before we bought it, it wouldn't be allowed. But there are, because there's in a commercial improvement area, there's some grants available for the property. So we're taking advantage of all those.
Oh, tell me about the grants.
Because they're trying to push Kenfig Hill into a commercial improvement area, they're giving 30% towards all the costs that we spend on the property.
Oh, wow.
So we're having a new roof fitted, new shop front possibly, backyard, everything basically will be 30% funded.
Did you consider a mixed-use development, like converting upstairs to a flat, or because it would be quite easy with the access you've got down the side and at the back?
Yeah, the council did say we could do that if we wanted to, but it wouldn't be 30% funded if we did.
Any plans Jay might have had for an upstairs flat will be for another day, because that 30% funding is definitely worth having. The only downside of the grant is that the council dictate a number of factors, such as the look of the shop window, the colour of the building and the access points. They will also keep a careful eye on all the work he does here.
So do you have an idea of how much you're going to have to spend to sort it out?
We've had estimates in, and they come in, including the roof and the car park and everything else, it's coming around about 40,000.
So, timescales for sorting it all then?
Ideally, I'd start it tomorrow, but because the planning is going to be 8 weeks before we can even start, they've approved one of our grants for the original 10 grand. So we've applied for another 10 grand, which will take 7 to 8 weeks. So once they approve that, we can start the work on. I think it's going to be about 8 to 12 weeks of work.
So is this your first venture into property?
It is, yes, yeah. I'm not much of a DIYer myself. I'm more sort of technical, so it'll be all builders working here for me.
Right.
I'll oversee it and everything else, but ideally I'd rather just give it to them and then walk in when it's finished.
Quite exciting though.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, listen, congratulations.
Thank you.
Good luck with it, and we look forward to coming back to finding a working office and shop.
Thank you very much.
Well, this really is an ideal purchase for Jay, isn't it? With the added bonus of the grant money to help with the refurbishment too. Still a lot of work to be done to sort this place out. You can find out how he gets on later in the show.
Earlier we were in Kenfig Hill near Bridgend, mid Glamorgan, where business owner Jay purchased this commercial property at auction for £40,500. His plan was to renovate and refurbish it to house his business communications company, but it did sound as though he won't be hands-on.
So is this your first venture into property?
It is, yes, yeah. I'm not much of a DIYer myself. I'm more sort of technical, you know, so it'll be all builders working here for me.
Right.
I'll oversee it and everything else, but ideally I'd rather just give it to them and then walk in when it's finished.
As Jay was relying on financial grants from the council to start the work, his overall timescale was 4 to 5 months. We've come back just over 6 months after we first met him to see if he's turned this place around. Well, he may have been hands-off, but Jay's building team have done him proud. This commercial property has been transformed. The front shop area and ante-room have been opened out to create a pleasant ground floor, whilst upstairs has been converted into 3 offices. Throughout there are new carpets, the walls have been replastered and there's a new kitchenette and WC. Out back has been tarmacked, making car park space for 5 cars. This place now seems ideal for Jay to run his business from, and if something's worth doing, it's worth doing right.
When we first bought the property, we had a rotten shop front and a door, so we changed the whole shop front. It's now an aluminium double glazed unit, which prevents any road noise coming in as well. Downstairs is our sales floor, so we've put an open area for them, just so they can all work together and, you know, help each other through the day. We've put these divides in, as you can see here. These are purely just to sort of prevent any noise, you know, when they're on the phone, etc. I really love it. I think the style really suits us. Our sales guys are really pleased with it and finding it really, really good having a separate area as well.
As the local council want to encourage business in the area, Jay was able to get grants from them to help with the refurbishment.
We spent about £42,000 on the refurbishment work. The council have given us about £21,000 back. So, you know, we really, you know, we haven't spent a huge amount of our own money on the project.
And speaking of Jay's wife, Heather, had hoped she could also run her web development business from here, but I don't see much sign of that.
Unfortunately, we needed the space for our own use, but she understands the business needs need to come first.
When I first visited the property, I saw some real potential to convert upstairs into a self-contained flat. But with an expanding business, Jay opted to keep upstairs as office space.
We hope that, you know, if we did come to sell it in time, that, you know, people would leave it as an office because it has been finished to a high standard on it. However, we have made it readily available if somebody did want to use it as a house, because we've already put a separate electric meter upstairs, so it's a completely separate area if somebody wanted it. We may look at putting some type of extension on the back in the next coming year.
So there could be more work on the horizon for Jay, and hopefully with these new premises he'll also be able to expand his business. With the auction purchase price of £14,500 and £42,000 on the refurbishment, Jay's total outlay, including grant money from the local council, was £82,500. We invited two estate agents to take a look around.
My first impressions was surprise. A lot of the internal walls have been moved around. It's been refurbished to a very, very high standard, and I was very pleased with what's been carried out of the property.
Yeah, the office space upstairs is good quality space, open plan, which is what most people want these days, as opposed to a sort of a rabbit warren of smaller offices. A good quality refurbishment, good lighting, good partitioning, good quality space.
So they're impressed with the new look. But let's get down to the numbers. If Jay were considering selling the property in its new, improved and fully renovated state, what could he sell the premises alone for?
To a speculator or developer, somebody who's looking at this as an investment property, they'd want it probably for something in the region of £65,000 to £70,000.
An investor may look to purchase a property at around about £60,000 to £65,000.
I feel it's quite low. Obviously, we've spec'd it quite high for our needs, but I still think it's, you know, it's still a large building and can be used for an office. We may look at in the future looking at renting it out and getting our return that way.
With those estimates, Jay would technically make a loss of between £12,500 and £22,500 on the premises. However, he did get that £21,000 grant from the council. As he mentioned, he may consider letting in the future, so what rental return could he expect?
For a new business looking to come in and set up, they would probably look to pay around about £500 per calendar month.
I'd say a rental in the region of £800 per calendar month.
Again, I think the values are quite low, but obviously we won't know until that day comes when we do rent it out. But ideally, if we were looking to rent it out, I'd be looking, you know, £1,100 to £1,200 a month for a building of this size.
Based on the agent's valuations and Jay's £82,500 spend, the rental yield would be between 7 and 11.5%. Very healthy. But for the time being, Jay's more than happy to stay put and build his business here.
It's exactly what we need. We built it to our specification, not to sell on or to rent out in the future. So it's not going to fit every business needs in the future. However, for us, it's perfect. And, you know, we love walking up to it every morning, and so does the team.